Christmas time is not what ruins progress. That spiral after Christmas. That's what it does for most people. Welcome back to the podcast. And before we get into anything tactical, I want to be upfront, right? If you're listening to this right now and you're like kind of disappointed already in yourself, frustrated because we overate again over Christmas, you maybe didn't fuel properly throughout the day and then you ended up snacking too much in the evening, you had too many cookies, whatever it is, right? You probably still feel bloated, right? Don't feel like you messed up. That's the first lesson already today. You didn't. You just got some information that life showed you, right? On the things that you just need a little bit more work on. This episode is for you because this time of year hits people hard, and it makes sense too. If you think about it, right? You're trying to eat healthy. You've been maybe trying to diet already. You were pretty decent, before Christmas. You were going hard, cutting carbs, cutting sugar, doing the cardio, whatever it is. Maybe you just came off of keto, whatever, right? But Christmas time, right? You're with family. There's different scenarios, more social setting, more friends, more food. Food's everywhere around, the office maybe. Everyone's cookies and chocolates, and, then you get, the candy over the weekend, whatever it is, right? Maybe you have kids, they bring all the candy, or they want all the candy, you buy it for them. Then you end up in that same chocolate bag, right? Or candy bag. Routines also kind of disappear. That's a big one. So food is already everywhere. But now because you have some time off and you're in a different setting, maybe you're visiting parents, whatever it is, your routines are gone too. Structure goes out the window. And all of a sudden, you start to feel, especially right now, between Christmas and New Year's, you kind of start to feel like, what's the point right now? I'll just restart in January, right? And I want to talk about that because here's what people don't realize. Like I said before, Christmas isn't what ruins your progress. It's the spiral. The spiral from one day of eating more into, well, fuck it, we'll just restart in January. Like, no, that is where people truly regain that weight or gain weight in the first place. It's not the Christmas dinners, whatever it is. It's really just approaching all of December as if it is Christmas every single day. And we kind of touched on that last episode already, so I don't want to kind of revisit the same topic. I mostly just want to make sure you start 2026 fired up and ready by also showing you how my clients maintained their measurements and their weight just fine. Some even dropped, and it wasn't even the goal. We've increased food for anyone who has been dieting. Also, if they just started their fat loss phase in November, we took a diet break. Calories went way up to maintenance. They maintained their weight. And the people who did gain weight, like a kilo, maybe 2 or 3 pounds, their measurements, because we do both, their measurements were the exact same or even lower, waist measurement in particular. So you see, even if you did gain some weight, don't freak out about it, because a lot of times, if you look at your measurements, you're probably just fine. Right? And I see this time and time again. I mean, look, I'm a coach. This is what I do full time, right? I get new clients in the new year. And around December, I only get a handful of people who are ready to commit. And I'll tell you this. I had people start 2 weeks before Christmas. I had people start 4, 6, 8 weeks before Christmas. And because they committed and they took action anyway, they're already growing. They've lost a ton in terms of measurements. Weight, not as much yet, but they're dropping body fat. Now, as you already know, if you're a returning listener, we don't start with fat loss in most cases, unless I see, hey, someone's responding well, they are really good at tracking, picking up. I set targets and they're just hitting them. I tell them, hey, do this this week, focus on this. And they just fucking execute. If I then see they're responding really well, plus we can see, I can see how their weight and measurements are moving based on their caloric intake. It tells me, okay, where's your metabolism at, right? Now, if you're on your own, this may be harder to judge. And that's why I have a full-time job, right? Because I can help you with this stuff. But all joking aside, even if you're going to do this by yourself without my help, I want to make sure you dive into 2026 just feeling fired up and not bummed out because of a week of more food, right? Maybe it's been a month, right? Where you actually said, hey, December is going to be my chill time. And you know what? That's totally fine too, right? The biggest thing that I need you to know, though, is that if we decide ourselves that December is just going to be a chill month when it comes to food and fitness, there's going to be certain consequences to that. Now, it doesn't always have to be bad consequences, but I do want you to understand, hey, sometimes If we make the decision of just having whatever, there's a bigger chance of weight gain, and then we can only really blame ourselves. But then again, I still don't want to play the blaming game, because I just want you to learn and grow and move on. So whether you feel good about Christmas or you feel like you kind of fucked up a bit, don't worry about it too much, right? You're good. We have more than 365 days left to win in 2026, and the work begins today, December 29th. This year, once again, while most people were panicking about weight gain, my clients didn't. They maintained measurements, weight-wise. They felt better. They felt relaxed. You know, these check-ins that I've been getting, it's all been, hey, you know what? I just focused on some basics, protein, fruits, veggies. I got some great walks in, a lot of steps. I feel good. I didn't stress about food. I didn't have any guilt around food. I didn't even track my food, yet they still maintained. Not because they were perfect, not because they restricted themselves and told themselves, I can't have any cookies or sugar, and definitely not because they had more discipline. Because if anything, my people were relaxing as well. They were enjoying, they were having that quality time with their family. And for our parents, I coach a lot of busy moms. For our moms, they were the ones who made Christmas magical, you know, for their kids. And that's super cool. So let's dive in officially now. It's a bit of a longer intro, but look, like, I just really want to set you up for success in 2026. We're going to break down why Christmas feels like it ruins everything for most people, what's actually happening in your body, especially mindset too, during that time, and what my clients did. So they really didn't turn a few days into another lost Christmas season or even a lost year, right? Don't make these same mistakes. The biggest one being spiraling because of a bad day or a bad week. And it doesn't even have to be Christmas for that. That's every single week. You know why? I barely posted anything about Christmas because I just don't want to make it that big of a deal. We're working on the same shit all year round. If you're a returning listener, you know we talk about this basic. The same go through Christmas. We're going to be a little looser and more intuitive. But if we go in with a plan, and that plan can literally be a few basic things, no guilt, no overreacting either, right? No panic, no restriction, just we're calm. We are in control, not Christmas, not the cookies, not the fact that we went somewhere else to eat. Like, my parents are cooking, so I can't control my food intake. Well, depends. You're still the one eating. You can still get some fruits and veggies in throughout the day. You can still get your protein in without tracking a single calorie too, by the way, right? We can still be the person who says, hey, you know what? Let's go for a walk. Get some fresh air after that big meal. Good for digestion, blood sugars, right? We need clarity going into 2026. We need perspective. Also understanding that a hiccup is just part of the deal. We're called, so last week I explained why we're called Odyssey Coaching Systems, specifically systems, right? Why do you think Odyssey is so big for me? That's what my course is called. It's the first word in my company, Odyssey. It's a journey. It's the struggles along the journey. It's the challenges that you have to overcome. It's life throwing shit at you and you just deal with it and you overcome anything, you overcome any obstacle and you grow because of that and you reach your goal. That is the Odyssey. That's specifically what that stands for. No one told you this whole journey, this whole health and fitness thing was going to be easy, right? Well, at least not me. And I know there's a lot of programs out there that will make it sound like it's this quick thing. 12 weeks, you just go hard, boom, we're done. But that's not the reality. If you want real long-term lifestyle change, like my clients who drop, I mean, I've seen people drop, you know, in kilos, 10, 20, 50 kilos, in pounds, you know, 20 pounds, 50, 60 pounds, 100 to 140 pounds. It's all doable, right? But it's not because it's easy. And that's because I have this quick fat loss. Like, no, like we're doing a lot of maintenance. Like we're doing a lot of hard work, especially the mindset work, right? Self-development, that's all part of the deal. You know what I mean? We're going to make mistakes. And my best performing clients have made more mistakes than the people who give up worldwide because they just keep going. You can literally outlast anyone just by showing up every single day. That's, long story short, if you just take away that one sentence from this whole podcast, you can outlast anyone if you just keep showing up. We already know that 80 to 90 or 95% of New Year's resolutions fail. It's because people quit. So just don't quit. And this needs to be said too. If we are really unsure in terms of what to do, then get help. Then you DM me on Instagram and we'll talk. Whether you join for coaching or you just do my free quiz. I'm going to help you out. But make sure that you don't keep trying shit by yourself if just time and time again, it just doesn't work for you in 2026. Now, the real struggle people face after Christmas, or sorry, at Christmas. Let's actually start there. We touched on the most important ones too, but I wanted to talk on that weight, because why is it up? Well, more carbs, more sodium, maybe more stress, less routine. You think you're off plan. There's maybe some social pressure. This needs to be said too. Like sometimes we forget this. There's quite a bit of social pressure. Like when that other person, whether it's a friend or family member, is like, oh, just have some more. Like, don't, we often give in because that's just a nice thing to do, in quotes. Have the other glass of wine, have the whatever it is. You can also say no. Now, I'm not saying restrict, but if you're good, you don't have to have more because you want to please someone else. Now, a few other points, just generally, like most of that weight gain, I just told you to with my clients as well. Most of that gain on the scale didn't even reflect in their measurements. Like we're fine. We know it's water weight, could be multiple things, right? But mostly water and food, that's going to drop again in no time. At least if you now use this week to go back to your routines. And of course, if you once again, like if you want to do my free quiz, hit me up on Instagram, DM me quiz, I'll send it over. It's a free thing. I'll let you give you a personal coaching video. It's on the house because it's always the basic stuff you got to go back to. So Christmas aside, what do we do when it's a normal week? Well, we prep our food. We plan our meals, even without meal prepping. We plan our meals. We have our fruits and veggies. We have our whole foods. 80 to 90% of our calories come from whole foods. We go for walks. We work out maybe 3 to 5 times a week, depending on your schedule. We sleep well 7 to 8 hours. We manage our stress. And I know I'm going fast, but if you just tackle those one by one, you make it a habit, and you just keep chipping away at those habits. At some point, when it's a true habit, you don't have to think about it anymore. It's just something you do. I had a client a few years ago, and she struggled getting 4,000 steps in per day. By the end of our coaching, collaboration, let's say, she was hitting like 10 to 12K on the daily. And she's like, I didn't even make any effort for it. It's just like, I like moving. I'm just active now. Drinking water, eating your protein, your fruits and veggies. In the beginning, there's maybe going to be a lot of paying attention to, hey, I got to do this. I got to do this. And with my clients, of course, we track our food in chronometer, or we just do it straight like habit tracking. It's a very great tool as well, right? But we do the tracking first so that it becomes a habit, and then we can do better without all the tracking, right? And for most of my clients, like I can name 4 people I can think of now who tracked most days, but even then, like they didn't track those Christmas days. Most of my people just took a break from it most of the week. Still didn't gain a bunch of weight. Why? Because we focus on the same habits we've been talking about all year. If you go back to this year's podcast episodes, you'll hear me talk a lot about the same things. Now, why is that? Because it's the same things that work every single time. Now let's move on, because we're not going to spiral, even if you did gain a bunch of weight, which, by the way, once again, is probably mostly water over Christmas. How are we now going to go into 2026? I want you to look ahead. It's December 29th right now. Maybe you're listening to this today or tomorrow or even on the 31st. Let's sit and reflect, starting with Christmas. I had one client this week. I'm not going to say everyone's perfect. I had one client. She's like, I didn't do so well with my food. Now, I don't just accept that statement. I actually want to know. So what do you mean by that? She said she actually still trained. That's amazing. She still had a good amount of steps in. But I was like, hey, when you tell me you feel like you didn't do so well with your food, what does that mean? I can see that you said, hey, you had a few days where you had more food. You did mention that you had some wines on the other night. So what specifically do you mean by that? Plus, tell me, what did you do well food-wise? And then she got back to me. She was like, well, I've been hitting my proteins. I had my fruits and veggies. It was mostly those Christmas days. So I told her, like, look, this actually sounds pretty good. Your weight's stable. You hit some of the basics. You still moved. And even with the extra food and the alcohol, your weight didn't even go up. So what's now the lesson? Another specific client that I'm thinking of now, she actually told me, I had a few days where I overate in the evening. I had a lot of cravings. I gave in. So I asked her, and this is what I want you to do. This is the reflection part. This is how you win it in life. You reflect, you learn from your mistakes. I said, okay, so right now you feel like you didn't do so well. controlling your intake around certain foods. You have more cravings in the evening. Why do we think that is? Then she said, well, actually, on those specific days, I didn't have my regular breakfast. I kind of skipped lunch. I didn't eat enough protein throughout the day. Just altogether, I didn't eat so much. And then by the time it was evening and we sat down for that Christmas dinner, I just ate everything in sight. And I was like, okay, cool. So what's the lesson here? And you as the listener, I want you to think about this now. If you think back to Christmas last week and you're like, well, just didn't go as planned. Are you just going to sit with the frustration, or are you going to be proactive and think calmly, objectively, what could I do differently next time? And it doesn't have to be Christmas for this. It's my birthday on January 2nd. That's a social setting. If I were to have a hard time with social settings, I would probably think of, hey, okay, so usually when we go out or whatever it is, we get together with friends and family, or it's a birthday, or it's vacation, or it's holiday, whatever it is. What's usually something I struggle with, or to put it better, what is something I have struggled with previous times? So for you specifically, looking back at last week, what is something that I could do better or differently so that we can try that next time? Now, the most important thing going into 2026 too is that I want you to start thinking of what are the good things, my good character traits, the good work I put in. What do we want to take into 2026? What do we want to take into the next Christmas? Okay, you know what? I moved quite a bit and I felt better for it because of the fresh air and everything else. Perfect. Do more of that. You know what? I actually did good with my protein. Cool. Let's keep it in. Fruits and veggies seem to help. I didn't have so much cravings. Perfect. Point out the positive and look at what you can do differently or better next time. That's how you want to go about this. And that literally goes for everything. But you have to do the uncomfortable thing of reflecting. You have to look in the mirror and say, you know what? This went well, but I think this should be a little bit better because I have this big goal for 2026. If you have a big weight loss goal, for example, let's say 10 to 20 kilos, 40, 50 pounds, whatever it is, who do you need to become to achieve that specific goal? What would that specific person do in that specific scenario? How would they handle the setbacks? How would they handle the mistakes? What would their mindset be? What specific daily actions would they take to get right back on track? What routines do they have in place? Visualize this. Think of the person you want to become and just start acting like that person because you can already do the same things they will. And that's the cool part here. You can literally visualize and fantasize about who you want to become and just start acting like that person. And then you'll win. If at least you keep showing up, you outlast everyone else like what we just talked about. You outlast the 80 to 90+% every single year of people who don't follow through with their New Year's resolution because it gets difficult. Guess what? It's almost January. That gym is going to be packed. We all know what happens in February, March. People stop showing up. Why? Because it's hard to do the same shit for months in a row to then eventually see results. You're not going to build muscle in a few weeks. You're not going to lose 20, 30 pounds in a few weeks. It takes time. Building habits, you can't shortcut that process. It could be multiple months before a habit is established. 2026 does not need a stricter diet or a harder reset or a detox of whatever. My clients who win, my clients who drop crazy amounts of weight, 10 to 20+% of their total body weight, sometimes more in measurements, by the way, they always keep it off too. Right? I know my process works. Like, this is not some marketing thing. Like, I know my process works because I've seen it happen over and over again. Hundreds of people, hundreds of women who used to be stuck for years or even decades, who just lose weight finally and keep it off, and they're just good. I know this shit works. I know exactly what to do. I know exactly how to get your results. Learn from my clients. Learn from my most successful clients who, by the way, are also usually the busiest. They're business owners, moms, single moms, people who are running around taking care of everything and everyone else. But they're still doing the work for their own health and goals too. They plan for holidays. Look, Christmas is not a surprise. It's every single year. You know it's coming up. So let's plan for it. I don't mean every specific meal, but let's have some type of plan going in. My most successful people don't diet all the time. My most successful clients don't diet all the time. We have multiple months of maintenance. We have extended periods of muscle gain. We do reverse diets to where after their fat loss phase, we slowly bring up food. We usually start halfway between where they finish their fat loss phase and their expected maintenance. And then we can keep increasing food. A lot of my clients actually start by eating more. And it might sound like, oh, this is going to take a long time. But look, it's also necessary for you to actually get those results again, for your body to truly respond again. If you want to look toned and defined, you're going to have periods where you can build muscle, and that's not done in a fat loss phase. Maintenance is the magic, to be honest with you. Like if you can just eat enough for most of the year, and then you go into a fat loss phase a couple months out of the year, you're going to lose way more body fat, plus you'll keep it off. Or you can not listen to what I'm saying here, and you can just do the same thing again. Go hard for New Year, and then fall off by February. And then you're like, let me do a summer shred before summer, and then we'll, just go hard, and then I'll go on vacation to blow up again. That's what most people do. Just don't do what most people do. No harder diets, no harder resets, no detoxes. You just need a system, strategy, and just better expectations. This is the real talk. If we've been overweight for a long time, look, I'm not judging. I was overweight myself. 2012. I was overweight. I know what that feels like, looking in the mirror and just not loving who you see, not seeing yourself in that mirror anymore. Feeling like crap, no energy, baggy clothes to hide your gut. That was me. So I get it. But the real talk is that we do need to be just honest with ourselves and say, this didn't take a few weeks or months. It's years of certain habits and behaviors stacking up. And unfortunately for a lot of people, there's a lot of trauma involved, toxic relationships, a lot of stress. Those are all real things we need to work on. But look, I was in a pretty bad place myself, and I also overcame it. But I had to be honest with myself and say, you know what? I didn't get overweight overnight. I didn't just gain, what was it again? In pounds, like I think 50 pounds, right? Or actually more. I think, so on my lightest, I had lost 30 kilos, which I think is like 60 plus pounds. I didn't gain the 30 kilos overnight. That was years of just not taking care of myself. Now, the good news is that you can lose weight way faster, but you got to have the right system. You got to have the right strategy. You need to be able to stick to your routines. You need to be able to develop your mindset, become resilient, learn how to overcome obstacles, keep a growth mindset, or at least cultivate a growth mindset, because you might be more fixed mindset right now. That's okay too. These are all things you can improve. Like I said before, think of the person you were trying to become and just start acting like that person. Going back to what I was saying though, it didn't take me a few weeks or months to gain 30 kilos. So I knew going into that journey, which for me took a long time in the beginning because I was making all the mistakes that you're currently making. That's why I'm so passionate about this stuff, because I was you. That's why. But I knew it was going to take a while. Now the cool part was though, I had lost all that weight within a year, less than a year. And then I kept it off and just started building muscle. That was that. It took me 1 year to just dial everything in, dial in my habits, get the weight loss done, maintain it to change my fucking life. That's why I do what I do, because I want you to have that same experience. It is so cool to go from feeling insecure about yourself, low self-belief, no self-control, willpower. You feel like you don't have it in you. You keep disappointing yourself. You keep feeling frustrated because every single time it's Christmas, you gain a bunch of weight. It's so amazing to go from that to look in the mirror and being like, you know what? I look pretty fucking good. I feel good. I have energy. I can lift heavy weights. I look lean. I have big muscles. I'm strong. I feel confident. I sleep better. I'm happier because of it. And that's probably, excuse me, that's probably the coolest part of this whole journey. When you achieve these goals, because of the things you have to do to achieve those goals and the mistakes you have to learn from and the obstacles you overcome, you start building self-belief. You start believing in yourself. You start being a role model for your kids. You're happier. You're more resilient mentally, physically. You're not as sick as often anymore. You live longer. That's the stuff, right? That's the stuff. So that being said, however Christmas went, don't worry too much about it. If you feel disappointed, feel disappointed. Feel frustrated. Do it, like, have the feeling. I'm not saying like ignore your feelings. Just feel like that. Then at least be productive afterwards. Because the initial feeling you can't really control, but you can control how you respond to that feeling so that you can now just move on, learn and grow. A few days really don't have to make that much of a difference. We're going into 2026 in full control, capable, calm, in charge of our decisions. And look, we're not even going to say, I would like to lose. No, we're going to lose the weight. We're going to reach our goal. And all it takes is to show up, outlast everyone, do the basics, try not to be perfect, reflect, build structure, build systems, and most importantly, ask for help. Because if you have a hard time figuring this out by yourself, there's great resources out there, including my page, my free downloads, my free quiz. Obviously, if you want the real experience, like sign up for my coaching, because I know how to get you to that goal. I'm confident in it. I've seen it work with hundreds of people. This is not some scam. Like I truly believe in what I do. That's why I built it the way it is, because I know the struggles, I know the obstacles, I know the lessons. I can teach you them. But even if you're going to do it by yourself, at least keep listening to the podcast. Follow me on Instagram. And of course, feel free to DM me anytime. Big announcement soon.